Serious, friends of people in relationships you don't approve of, why don't you approve, and what was the last straw? Her husband molested a child. She is still with him. I do not understand. One of my closest friends is with a guy who has a history of cheating. He just isn't a nice guy. And hangs around with a bunch of other like-minded guys who are obsessed with their own importance and basically treat every girl like trash. For the year or two they've been together, he has lied about various things and sometimes ignores her for no apparent reason. Recently, my friend found out he had been cheating on her for the past few months. Friend rings me crying. I console her, etc. 2 days later they're back together because my friend thinks she can change him. On top of this, the only time she ever contacts me now is when there's an issue with this boyfriend. She has caught him messaging other women some pretty naughty things on multiple occasions. I have no doubt he's cheated on her as well. She keeps giving him chance after chance because she's afraid of change. I think the last straw, for me, was when she saw that he had messaged a female co-worker, "I wish you were laying next to me right now," while he was in bed with his GF, my best friend. So fking disrespectful. They now have a house together and I just wish she'd realize she could do a billion times better than him. Oh my god. I'm going through this right now. My buddy is 23. And he's been dating this girl who's 18 for about 6 months. He's head over heels for this girl. Here's the thing. He has a lot of money. And this girl is a serious gold digger. Her Instagram bio includes aspiring trophy wife. And she brags about how much money he spends on her. Here's the real kicker. She's cheated on him with 3 dudes already. He doesn't care. He's beginning to cut out family and friends for her. And he's even said that, after only 6 months of dating, that he's going to take her ring shopping. Everyone he knows, including his family, friends, acquaintances, and myself, don't approve of her. But he's completely blinded by her. My brother dated a couch sloth that lived off of my father, along with my brother, and was so lazy that she would throw dishes and silverware rather than wash them herself. When she got money, she would spend it on herself. On things like hair dye. She would also camp out with different guys just about every weekend, staying over with them. My brother trusted her and saw no problem in this. She's a cam girl now. I don't approve of 2 of my friends hooking up because the girl involved is cheating on her boyfriend to do it. Up until a few months ago, she was living with the boyfriend, relying on him financially, and still cheating on him. The last straw was when the 2 friends unapologetically had sex partially on top of one of our friends who was asleep at the time. I decided right then and there that I was done with their shenanigans and let them know that this girl I know has lived a charmed life and is extremely naive as a result. She doesn't understand there are mean and selfish people who will use you. She started dating a guy several years older. He just got divorced and has 4 kids he doesn't take care of. They got engaged after 6 months. She thinks everything is going to be lovely because only lovely things have happened to her. Removed. One of my friends is dating someone who had red flags, a lot of them. Domestic violence accusations. 2 kids from a previous relationship he does not see. An uncontrollable temper. Drinks way too much. My friend says he treats her like a princess. Where this is the honeymoon period and she's in for a rude awakening. I've tried to voice my concerns a few times but she shuts me down. I feel like I'm watching a train derail off a cliff. It's going to be bad but I can't help someone who doesn't see the cliff ahead. I love them both dearly. But they're now in their early 30s and their ideas of the future are vastly different. Which makes them both unhappy and under pressure. And they come to me, separately, to vent about it. There's no last straw. I've never tried to do anything to separate them. They're both adults and have to work it out by themselves. It does get tiring though. And I dislike to spend time with them together as the atmosphere is always unpleasant. Nice to hear a reply where it's just people who aren't a good couple instead of at least one being an awful human being. There was no last straw. The girl was ridiculous from the start. He loved her. So I bit my tongue. But she controlled every aspect of his life. A perfect example is him. Another friend. And I picked up Diablo 2 to kill some time and have some fun on Battle.net. Nothing too crazy, right? Every single time we'd try getting him involved, she'd come up with some reason that he couldn't. Sometimes she wanted him to watch TV with her. Other times it was playing with candles, melting them down and making new candles or something. And once it was so they could design their dream house together. No joke. The last one she was falling asleep. But if he moved she'd wake up and insist he had to stay. Thankfully they're not together anymore. I don't approve because the guy is addicted to our whole friend group and he has to be involved in every conversation. He always has a one-up story. I don't approve because she's batshit insane. The last straw was when she threw their 7-month-old daughter into the bed of my friend's truck. In nothing but a diaper. In November. And told my friend if he was going to leave, to cool down from whatever they were fighting about that day, to take his stupid f-king kid with him. He won't leave permanently because he's afraid he'll never see his daughter again if he does. Tell your dude to lawyer up and record everything that happens. She'll eventually pull the plug and take him to the cleaners. People like that will 100% take everything including the visitation rights she doesn't want. The guy is emotionally abusive. Once got angry with her for staying at our house and playing Monopoly until the late hour of 9 PM. He locked the door and pretended to not be home when we dropped her off. I moved her out of his place twice. Each time with police escort. She keeps going back to him. We ended up telling her to leave the apartment that we shared because we couldn't be emotionally invested in someone who wasn't even trying. Last straw was after we told her if she saw him again we were done with her. She lied and saw him again. Her sister caught them at the bar he always hangs out in. There wasn't a last straw. I just don't think they're a good fit. They've been dating 1.5 years and in couples therapy for a year. Like. At that point. How is it worth the effort? You've almost put in as much time trying to fix the relationship as you've put into the whole thing overall. A friend of mine basically dropped off the face of the earth when he met this girl. I get wanting to spend time with your girlfriend. Especially in a new relationship. But this guy had to drop all his hobbies. All his free time activities. All his previous social relationships for her. If she was in the room watching Real House Bitches of Bitchtown. He had to be there watching with her, and not even on his laptop playing a game while sitting next to her. Oh no. He had to be watching it with her. It's gotten a little better. But he married her and I still only see him a couple of times a year and it's no surprise to me that pretty much the only hobbies he has now are completely solitary. She seems very good at guiding him towards having no life outside of her. I don't want to get too accurate because there's a high probability one. Or both. Of them are on Reddit. But basically. He moved in way too soon. Has relied on her to pay the bills for most of the relationship. And he makes her feel guilty for going anywhere without him. I also don't believe that he'd turn down the chance to cheat. He's been much too flirty with me in front of her and my husband. I'm a naturally flirtatious person. And he made me uncomfortable. That's how forward it is. My boyfriend's mother is with this guy who I knew was a prick from the beginning. He treats her like shit as well as everyone else. Especially my boyfriend. The final straw was when he was trying to talk shit about my boyfriend to me saying he doesn't get anything done. He's so unmotivated and blah 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 and I shut him down. My boyfriend does 95% of the work in his home for his family, so to hear that made me want to stab him in the throat. My best friend got married 7 years ago. And I refused to be the mob because her fiancé was disrespectful. It's really long, but once he threw a vase at her in a fight. After a couple of years. I became friends with her again and just kinda forgave her so. She called me last week to tell me he cheated on her with a prostitute and they are gonna work on things. I can't roll my eyes any harder. She is dating my cousin. My douchey slacker high school dropout cousin who took under the bathroom door naked photos of my little sister, also his cousin, and kept them on his phone. So, last straw was that she is the one who found the pics and told my sister about them. But still stayed with him. My friend never approves of any of my boyfriends. And constantly berates them in front of me whenever she saw them. My current so she would publicly berate and abuse him. Calling him names and telling me to leave him in front of him. I would ask her to stop. But she would get louder. Even if our relationship was working out well. She would constantly talk about my exes and how bad my boyfriends were. Then compare mine to her dysfunctional relationships that never lasted past the honeymoon phases. I know it isn't related. But I thought I would share. Are you sure you still want to be friends with this person? My best friend is dating a guy she's admitted, multiple times, does nothing for her sexually or romantically. She sees him as a friend. And even then, they have utterly different interests and senses of humor. There is no chemistry. No love. No friendship. She won't leave him because she's complacent. She's always emotionally cheating on him with men she thinks she can't get because she deems them out of her league. I've tried talking her into breaking up with him tens of times. And every time she agrees that she should. But she just won't do it. I did not approve it. I told them they wouldn't last and I would lose the friendship of one of the two if they get together. They were both my female and male best friends. That's how they met. I knew they weren't meant for each other. As they are both very different. They did not listen. Results? They lasted 3 months. I'm still bro with the guy I've known since childhood. Girl go? She now ignores me like I was a bad person all along. For no apparent reasons. I called everything before it happened. I even knew how they would break up and they did. Now I've lost a girl I really liked hanging out with. She hurts but I'm fine now. Her husband yells at her. Calls her names. Doesn't help take care of the baby and still says she's a shitty parent. Believes all the money is his because she's a stay-at-home mom. Like. That is not how marriages work. I've been trying for years to convince her to leave him. And she even admits that if it were me telling her all the shit she tells me, she'd advise me to leave that relationship. But she just won't do it. Was supposed to go to Vegas for friend's bachelor party last Wednesday. He came over last Monday to tell me the wife-to-be wasn't comfortable with him going on this trip alone, which had been planned since April. So it was cancelled. I'm the one that had reserved the suite and bought us both plane tickets. Good timing. I cancelled my room and flights to their destination wedding in October too while I was at it. Cause FCK that. That's f-king inconsiderate. Well done. My best friend had a whirlwind courtship that resulted in marriage in about a year's time. He seemed great at first and she was happy and he seemingly treated her very well. Shortly after they were married he became a total nightmare in a myriad of ways. But the final straw for me was when he bullied, terrorized, made her life miserable until she quit a great job where she was making $60K a year. Mostly because he didn't like her boss. She is now completely dependent on him, which is probably what he was going for. A shell of who she used to be, and I feel like I don't even know her anymore. The wife now controls his phone and Facebook. There is no longer a way to electronically communicate with him without going through her. She told me. As I was dragging her drunk ass to my car to drive them to their hotel for their wedding night. That I made her husband do bad things and that I was a bad influence. Then she squatted and took a piss on the ground in the hotel parking lot in her wedding dress. As her parents drove by. In okay with no contact there for a while. Additional interesting wedding info. Bride was wearing flip-flops as her wedding shoes and fell down no less than 8 times at the reception. Spilled red wine on her dress before even sitting down at the head table. Makes the entire wedding reception wait for dinner so she can FCK groom in limo. Then bragged about getting laid publicly as everyone at the wedding ate cold buffet dinner. They already had a kid, so. Edit.